Baby.
Good. Yeah, very good. Yeah.
All right, let's start with the Pledge of Allegiance. The flag is back there. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, I'd like to call the meeting to order. In the room, we have a quorum. We have Mandy, Dan, Joe, Bill, and myself. So that's our quorum. On the phone, we have Carol. Oh, and Scott is here, non-voting member. And then I imagine Jim is going to join us. He might just be running a little late. So first item up on the agenda is the approval of the minutes. Can I have a motion to approve the minutes?
A motion.
Thank you, Mandy. And may I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Bill. All right, next up, and Carol has asked me to review the checks that need to be signed tonight. So I'm going to go through that and then we'll just do a motion to pass all of the bills unless someone has an issue. We have 3 checks for Bond, Shonek, and King. These are all to do with the 501c3. 570, 498.75, and 1483.75. What did we get for that money? We have in our Google Drive, besides their technical advice, we have in our Google Drive 2 versions of a loan agreement. One is a bonded one and one is a non-bonded one. You'll see there's a folder out there. And then I also put a note in there because their advice was, at the point where the LDC is in a position to give loans, we should also review our business process in those 2 forms with a tax attorney. So we didn't forget that, or if I got hit by a bus, it's there, God forbid. We had to fill out a form 1023. Bowers did that for us. There's a check for $500 for them. MRB Group, they did some services for us. Also, this was in the 501c3 realm. Between 9/24 and 10/21 for $180. There's a check for me for $20. That is for me to pay the domain fee for our website. I paid for it and I'm getting reimbursed. Scott's December consulting for $28,1250. Rent on the office for $150 and $64.80 for December's QuickBooks reimbursing Carol. That gives us a total of $6,279.80. Can I have a motion? Does anyone have any questions on that? Because Carol's online.
Gotta love attorneys.
I know. You know what 100 attorneys at the bottom of the ocean is? A good start. Okay, motion to pay the invoices. Can I have a motion, please? Thank you, Dan. And seconded by?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Bill. All in favor?
Aye.
Hi.
Anyone opposed?
Aye.
No opposition. And motion passed, yes. Okay, we got that done. All right, what I'd like to do now, as I said, I'd like to switch it and go into executive session because I want to equip Dan with this, our point of view on the 2 applicants for board. So he can bring it up at the next board meeting and then we can get back to the 2 candidates.
I don't think we gotta go in executive session, do we? Just
We're going to talk about 2 people. I think we probably should.
specific people.
We'll talk about 2 specific people.
Okay.
All right, so I'm going to pause the recording. I'm going to start. All right, we are resuming our recording. We are out of executive session. As a result of executive session, we would like to pass 2 motions. The first is to authorize us to write an ad to hire administrative support through the town to the range of $15 to $18 an hour to be publicized in January.
I motion.
Thank you, Mandy. Can I have a second?
I'll second.
And Bill seconds. The second motion is, in order to do this advertisement, we will need to write a job posting ad for the Thousand Island Sun. We need a motion to authorize us to pay for that ad.
Go ahead.
All right, Bill's motioning, second.
I'll second.
Mandy seconds. All in favor of both of those things?
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Aye. Aye. Aye. Aye. Aye. Aye. Aye. Aye. Aye. Aye. Aye. Aye. Aye. Aye. Aye. Aye. Aye. Aye. Aye. Aye. Aye. Aye. Aye. Aye.
Anybody opposed?
Aye.
All right, excellent. That was just, I came in late. All right, thank you. And moving right along on our agenda, Scott, you're doing great. Scott has taken over. Next on our agenda will be Scott talking about the strategic plan and his plan to do so. So Scott, over to you.
All right, so I just did a brief presentation here to outline the next 4 months of our plan. We're gonna look at the scope, and then a little highlight for each meeting coming up, as we move forward, what I plan to do and what I plan to present you at each meeting. So for the scope of it, I've already started holding individual meetings, interviewed a few members in person, and I do have a few remaining members I'd like to schedule over the next couple of weeks, either a Zoom meeting with or an in-person meeting. Just went through a questionnaire to talk about our mission and our scope, and got some really good feedback. Went back through and listened to them because I did record them and took notes. Some areas were brought up that we've kind of lost focus on that were in the original mission, so it was good to hear and maybe to bring back into this plan. Some of the original goals and objectives of it. So for the timeline, in January, I plan to, in January, I plan to provide you guys all an outline of the plan. And within that outline, we will look at the scope, and an introductory and the goals that were set by those interviews. And also in the month of January, I want to try to plan a work session where I invite the town board, the village board, and the LDC. It won't be a public meeting. I'm gonna try to get this room and lay out some different areas for comments, and just when people are available, come in. It might take you 30 minutes to go through a couple workstations. For the people that are not here on Zoom, after that meeting, I will send you some of the diagrams that you could add your comments to. Because it's gonna be like, kind of, some of the work sessions will play off what other people have commented. So when I get those complete, I will send them along. And that'll be in the month of January. So prior to the February meeting, at the February meeting, I will provide you guys with an outline of the plan to include those components that were discussed that night, to include goals, and to include next steps at the February meeting. Some of those details will be from that work session with the town, village, and LDC. At the March meeting, I will present you guys with a draft plan. I hope to have a completed draft plan available to you guys, give you a presentation on that draft plan with the key goals and the outline of it. And between March and April's meeting, I want to schedule a follow-up meeting with each board member and go over your comments individually. Take some time to listen to your feedback on the draft plan after you review it. So I'll give everybody like the first 2 weeks after the March meeting, and then the following week and a half, get your feedback to make changes for the April meeting. And then in the April, I'll provide everybody a final copy for you guys to review and adopt, if you want to adopt it at the April meeting, or if you want to review that final copy before your May meeting. That's up to you guys, but it's an aggressive schedule to do a strategic plan, but I think we can get it done in that time frame. As outlined.
Questions?
Of course.
You knew I would have questions.
Yeah.
You would feel bad if I didn't have questions.
Yeah,
Okay, can you go back to February?
Yeah.
So you got a work session plan there, and I thought you had a
The
work.
session's January. I don't know why I copied over here.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Okay, that was my one question.
Yep.
I don't see where you're going to continue to pick up the focus group work from Jeannie. Because there was only one focus group held, and there was a whole list of groups. Where is that in the plan?
I wasn't gonna include like meeting with them to incorporate into the plan. I think the strategic plan is gonna talk about those focus groups and the goals and outline that. I didn't think we were gonna put like the specific outcomes of those focus group in the plan. Like, I was just gonna include the focus groups as a portion of the plan and like the goals, to meet with them and to give feedback. if you guys want me to change that and then like meet with each of those focus groups before February and March, I can.
Well, let me ask it maybe a different way. So, not necessarily meeting with the focus groups, but at least the major outcomes of those groups, the feedback that we know of, will they be in the strategic plan as objectives for the LDC to pursue?
From the initial meeting.
Right, so could it be, there's feedback from the focus groups and some other things, and we've got other things out there, the LWC, whatever
The
thing.
LWRP.
LWRP and some other things that are still coming in. Well, some of those will be objectives and goals, or should be within strategic plan. And then I would think from the focus groups, if there's 2, 3, 4 major things that lots of people kind of wanted, maybe those will also think, will they be included in the plan in roughly the April timeframe?
It wasn't my intent to, but if
Okay.
you want those included, I mean, I was gonna have a section on focus groups.
Right.
List the groups that we had discussed and like initiated, like how to address the meetings and their concerns, like what would the path be forward to make those changes and address those concerns. But if you want the specific ones that have already been discussed, I can.
Yeah, I guess this is good, because I think my idea of what would be include, so it feels to me, and correct me if I'm wrong, that as you talk about strategic plan, it almost feels like it's a project plan for future work. And in my mind, the definition of a strategic plan was, what are we all going to work on? Because we've got all this input already.
Right,
It was, okay,
that's what I'm tracking. The strategic plan is based on the stuff we've discussed. or
and
we-
more input.
And then over the next, I don't know, 2, 3, 5 years, these are efforts we're gonna focus energy on. Some are known in the LWRP and some are things we're gonna go ahead and pursue.
Correct, but I was gonna do that based on you guys as a group, as your
Yeah.
goals and your plan. And how we'll incorporate the outside plan, like the LWRP, I know those goals and what's being adopted, so I can include those. For
Correct.
focus groups, we've only had one. I just didn't know timeframe.
Yeah, see, I thought,
Most of this
yeah,
is-
but I was kind of
they're not
hoping,
here.
yeah, because there's also the comprehensive plan, right?
Yeah.
I did read I did skim a lot of the 572 pages of the LWRP. But it felt to me like what I was hoping we would get in the 3-month period was focus groups done, a survey of the town residents, so we could get all that input as opposed to plan to go and get all that input. I guess that's what I was
Right.
hoping for, because I want to get us to, when we all picked the strategic plan format that we liked from Canandaigua, I mean, it was, these are our strategic tenants and this is what we're working on and here's the projects underneath, but it feels like we just talking to the town and village and us again, we're just not going to get enough new stuff.
Well, can you put in the work session, the highlighted points that we had, 10 business entities that we do have input from, and those highlights of what they saw were positive and objective and goals. Could they be incorporated in the work session to introduce that again to the town, village and the board member?
I guess the question is, the other question would be, do you want me to invite those focus groups to the work session and let them answer those questions? I just think in 3 months, in January, February, March, where your residents are limited, it's tough to gather that information.
I think inviting the business owners and residents to work sessions, if you're able to do it for, I don't know, a full day and had, not that they'd have to have time slots, but you could even have like a couple tables set up for businesses for specific questions,
Yeah.
board members and village officials and citizens, and they can all answer the questions. And if they're available, they'll come. If not, I don't know that we'll have, I think the time of year is a huge issue, I do. So that would at least get us something. But
Right.
with the timeline, with doing all the focus groups and all that, 3 months is not a lot for all that, all.
I know,
businesses
but
and all that.
remember there was, we had gone through with Scott and Jeannie, a whole list of groups.
Right.
Right, that we were going to beyond the 10 people.
Yeah.
Right, we were gonna talk to, who
Right.
probably have valuable input and different input. And it feels like there was like, you know, education groups. I mean, it feels like there's people who are around.
Maybe you invite that list to the work sessions. But again, don't be disappointed if, you know, we're in the winter months in Cape, you may not get a lot of participation. That's all.
Yeah, no, I hear you, Jeannie. I know you had trouble with the invitations. And
Yeah.
then the other thing was, you know, are we gonna try to do a survey to the town residents, right? And what's the plan for that? And how would we, it just feels to me like, honestly, this is a plan for a plan, and I was hoping for it to be more than that.
Well, you know,
Honestly.
maybe we tackle it kind of in a phased approach, you know, because right now we've constrained Scott to deliver a plan that may not be deliverable, in the sense of the argument is sound for the winter months and everything like that, with a lot of people gone, crappy weather, everything like that. We may not get some of the people that we hope to get, even if they wanted to play. So maybe though, we take what we know and directions. We already know that based on some of the agenda. We know we want to go ahead and pursue somebody coming here and doing some housing. We know we want to go ahead and pursue opportunities for childcare. We already know that because our agendas show, and we've got people put against that. We've already got objectives we want to go for. And we've got objectives that the town and village are going through. So we've got, you know, East End, Club Street, LWRP. We already have objectives that everyone, we're just incorporating what's already being worked on.
Yeah, I don't think it's a plan to
Right.
get more information. I think we have enough goals and objectives
No.
between the three groups to develop it.
But I think, but part of that though is kind of in reverse, okay? We already have the objective, which is what we're talking about. But we do need to go ahead and get other input down there to fine tune objectives that maybe we don't even know yet, and that's fine. If the plan could be adaptable in the summer, arguably, okay, we'll have more people. That's fine. But yeah, let's put the objectives we already know we're pursuing. And again, it's a draft plan that's going to go and come, and we'll kind of look at it. So we forget about this, we want to add this, whatever like that. We probably could put that together. And then we just adapt it. It's an iterative type thing. It's a living document. You know, we just want to get like a 70% document. So, okay, now we have a direction and focus. And if everybody wants to see it, great. You know, we can post it. They say these are kind of the major things your LWC or LDC is working on. And they can look at it, and we just change it as we need to. But we would have objectives and stuff like that because we're already working on a lot of them. I hope that makes sense, you know.
It does.
So,
But I also think adding those groups to the work session would be great.
absolutely, and so that will feed this thing, absolutely.
Does anybody have any, I love the idea of let's try to get as many of those focus groups in and get their input, even if it's like, we'd like to have 7 people and we have 3. You know, I think just getting more, having another meeting with the town and the village, I'm not sure we're gonna learn a whole lot more from them. I mean, honestly, we've had dialogue with them. I'd almost rather have a meeting with the town and the village. I don't want, some of those comments were pretty negative in the business group, and I don't want to get it into, we're having a work session and people are saying nasty things to the town officials and they're defending themselves. That's not going to be
I think
productive.
I think my understanding what Scott was saying, the work session is gonna be more paper driven. It's not
Yeah,
gonna be us.
There's gonna be
discussing,
stations where you go around and like
right, what you want.
goals, things you like, things you dislike, why.
Right.
How can we work on them, and then let people play off of those.
Mhm.
It wouldn't be the intent that the board's sitting here listening. to
Right.
the
Okay, good.
talk.
Right.
That's not my, like, I plan to like, have the space and be here for like 6 hours, and you just invite whoever you want and come in when you're available. I'll explain the process when they come in. I'll answer questions for them. I'll take them from each station to station and get their feedback and their input. And if you want to do a separate group just for those focus groups, you know.
No, I think Mandy's right with that kind of a format. I think it's, let's get as many, because you're right, we're gonna have a limited number of people who might participate, so let's cast the net very wide.
I plan a day to be here like 2 to 7 or 2 to 8, so you get people in the afternoon and the evening, depending on your work schedule. Just have the room available and set up
And can what do you guys think of doing something like, you know, having the chamber put out an ad for it, and, you know, because that has a fairly good reach.
Yeah, I think having the chamber and posting on social media and maybe even do, and I don't know much about this, but Google Forms where if people wanna complete it at their house or distantly, they can.
I like that.
Yeah, you could do a link.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Is the idea to do it almost like with the New York Ford projects where you can come kind of look at them, look at, you're just basically, this is kind of what the LDC is thinking about
Mhm.
and kind of, what say you and have a dialogue with them? I mean, is that really what it solicit their input for kind of broad buckets of things? I mean,
My
is that the
ideal
idea?
is to have stations with like our key objectives.
Yep.
And our key goals.
Okay.
And then let people go around and add to each key goal, their
Right.
thoughts, goals, other projects that we're not thinking of.
Yeah,
And just, like draw a line to this one, and this is my comment, and draw a line to this one, and this is my comment on this one.
Right.
Where it's all anonymous, you don't know who they are, you don't know who's saying, I don't like this idea or that idea, but you're getting the feedback. And that's what I was saying for the members that are not here.
Yeah.
I'll take those images and send them to them so they can add to them or see
Yeah.
those images.
I think Mandy's right, though, some way to allow people to do it online.
and that could also be almost your survey, it wouldn't be exact same
It
questions,
would, it would be.
but it would be like, what are your,
Right, we could set up some general questions for
Right.
people to take that are not in the room.
Mhm.
Right.
The workstations in the room, I think, are just more of a brainstorming and building off. And
Right.
people's comments on
Right.
where we should be moving towards and what projects would get us there.
is there, and it may be too early, in that session, is there a way to go ahead, or will there be a way to differentiate? 11 teen people said, I really like the housing one, I think that is a worthy thing. And one person might have said, nah, we need a kite field or something. Well, 20 versus, 1. 20 is bigger bang for the buck, so is there
Yeah,
a
I'm
way
gonna
to kind of
generate
stick
those
to-
results.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
I'll
I
have
think
the
what-
results up.
you could do is, give people, like, those little round stickers. or
Democracy, I was thinking
give
the same
people
thing.
Free stickers, and before they leave, they have to select their top initiatives. or
Yeah.
whatever.
And that would be one of the stations, it's just an overall map and orange if you like,
Right.
red if you don't like something, and a little comment on why, green if you like it, and what you want to add to it.
Yeah, Mandy's Dotmocracy, I've used that. That works extremely well. You give people 3 dots and you say, you can put these on 3 different things, or you can put all 3 of them on one, because you think, and then you say, we had 45 red dots on childcare and 2 on the kite field. You know,
Right, but I think you could target, we talked about the farm raised local would be a good time of year for those folks.
that's right,
You
Dan.
could target them sooner than later,
Hmm.
because they're gonna be free.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you keep trudging along, I guess is what I'm saying, like Bill said, it is gonna be a living document, it's gonna change, there's gonna be amendments, there's gonna be cross-offs and ads, and so.
But I feel better if we can get more. I don't want it just to be the village, the town, and the LDC.
And I agree with
Doing it.
you about getting together with the town and the village,
No, and that's why I
we're
didn't,
up to our ears with what we got going.
that's why I
Yeah.
didn't want to plan the meeting, that's why I just wanted, when you're available after dinner, stop in and go
Yeah.
through and
Yeah.
give your comments, and
Yep.
it's not, let's sit down and talk about the same things we talked about for 4 years.
Right.
Other comments, folks on the phone, any comments, questions?
I really like Mandy's idea of a Google Doc that can be electronic. 'Cause a lot of people just physically can't maybe get there that particular night. Or Scott, as soon as you schedule it, you'll have a snowstorm in Cape. So especially in January, but I like the idea of alternative ways to gather data. I think that would be really neat if we can pull it off.
I almost, I know it was like a copy error on February. I'd almost say I'd rather you spend time in January really fleshing out that work session and coming back to us in January with like here's how I'm gonna get people here. Here's the plan, here's the Google Doc, whatever. And then just do it in February, because that would give you the whole month to try to gather that up, because I mean, we're throwing a lot in like, oh yeah, and try to bake bread at the same time, and have it done for January.
Well, I was just doing it that way, so I had time to write it for March, like,
Uh-huh.
I mean, I don't wanna rush it to get into a draft for you for March and a final in April. That
Mhm.
was the schedule you guys
Right.
had.
Yeah, so doing it that way, then there's a front load cost. So Scott will have to go ahead and identify those things that have identified us, others, whatever, to put on whatever the document is that will come to the board. The board then will have to say, yep, that's what it is, and then wherever it is, we're gonna post this thing, okay, on multiple forms, because that's the base document for people to look at, or give me dots, or here's a space to add, or I think you guys are wildly off the mark. So that's kind of gonna have to be sequenced, so it's gonna front load some work for him in order to do that.
So if we take this route, are you okay with me giving you the draft in April?
I think
Yeah.
so, yeah,
Final, like,
because
you
you
guys
know,
agree? I
there's,
just wanna make sure, 'cause you guys-
yeah, no.
Yes.
So what I'm
That's good.
thinking, you know, based on this conversation is you give us the draft in April and then maybe a lot of people come back in April. And, you know, a lot of people and Jeannie's focus group were like, we don't even know who these people are and what they do. Maybe we hold a public meeting at that point and say, here's our draft,
Right,
you know, and it gives us a reason to get people, you know, to get input, and we put it on Zoom and, you know, people can call in and how do others feel about that, about saying April is a draft?
I'm good with
Yep.
that.
I'm comfortable with that.
Okay,
I'd say April is good for a draft. But then, you know, at some point in time, we have to say, okay, this is kind of phase one of the draft, and this is the direction we're going.
yeah,
Then if we want to solicit input, it's really for the next version of
Right.
it, where
Mhm.
we execute the draft, so we have a focus, because it's gonna be grant writing season, everything like that.
right,
And Scott, we don't want to consume him with the strategic plan. It's good enough for, let's say, the next year. And kind of go from there.
well, the only thing I was thinking, Bill, is if he gives us a draft in April, we schedule a public meeting
Absolutely.
mid-April, we say, this is our draft.
Right,
You know, let's hear input. And then hopefully it's, you know, because he's had gained input in February from a lot of people, it's a little bit of a massage and not a, oh crap, we gotta rewrite the
Right.
whole thing. And then by May, we would have the final. So do we, since we could, did we in your contract say,
No,
we're good with
we're good.
moving it?
Yeah, there's no
Do we
contract.
need a motion on this? You know, I'm always like motion crazy now. Or are we just all
No,
good?
so
I don't think we
that's
need
what-
a motion, as long as you guys are okay with the draft.
Anybody on the phone? So Jeannie, I heard you. Carol, Jim, you guys okay with a draft in April, final in May?
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, cool. We got everybody. Pam's not here, so.
And we should have, I mean, you should have a lot of stuff that we did back with, you know, our original slot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have all that.
Yeah, but I mean, a lot of that is gonna be some of the same.
Right.
Right.
And Scott, could you make that one change that we're gonna do the plan in February and then just post that? So, you know, cause some like Jim joined later and I want him to be able to see the whole thing.
Yeah, I can update the
And-
slides and.
Yeah, that's perfect. All right. Any other questions for Scott on this?
Have you had any conversations with Irene with the LWRP? We met with her in November, Marty didn't wanna meet in December, so we're not meeting again until late January.
I talked to Irene every week. Like, just 10-hour meeting with her today.
What kind of feedback, are you hearing anything?
No, nobody commented on
No.
the interview, so it'd be final. So far, I mean, it might change, but
Okay.
she didn't say anything. I was on today with her for now.
All right, Dan, I know there's a big meeting coming up on the 21st, right?
Public
So,
hearing, kind of review what our plans are for Club Street. Let people know that we're looking to do a ban. And just answer questions, get feedback, whatever,
What
so
time is that?
6 o'clock.
We have a presentation for that, and Edgewater and I have been working on it for a few days. And there is a Zoom link, if anybody that is away wants to participate in that, there's a Zoom link on the town site for the public hearing.
Okay.
I think it would be anybody from the LDC, I think it would be good to, you know, if you can come or can zoom in, I think it would be really, I know it's like 4 days before Christmas, but I think it'd be
Okay.
just good
We're gonna
for
present
us.
the budgets for each phase of Club Street, talk about the grants that are available, what we have and what we don't have. Worst case scenario, if we don't get the next one, or full if we get them all. Just trying to get some information from New York Forward, and they will, for some reason, don't believe their documents are public, so they won't share anything.
That's how it is.
They've even deleted stuff off the website.
All right, so I promised two people I would get them out by 6:20. It is 6:17.
I have something really quick that I. want to-
Yes, okay.
I've been thinking about, I think one of the connections we're missing is somebody from our board participating in the chamber. I'm willing, and I spoke to Nicole to make sure she was okay with this, and then I was gonna bring it to you guys. I'm willing to be like a liaison with the chamber, but I wanted to get your guys' okay if I'm a liaison for this board to bring stuff back and forth. Cause I think that's something that really,
Absolutely.
I think that's really great because although my husband is now on the board and I get, I'd like 2 points of view on it.
I don't know if you guys had a chance to read my report yet, but Northern New York Community Foundation is allowing us to apply on behalf of the chamber for the $10,000 for French Festival.
That
Had
is-
a good conversation with them. If I get the application complete by mid-January, he hopes to fund it with his January. I mean, he said I can give you the funding in January, so it sounded.
So
like he was-
Scott, do you need anything from us? Like, do we need to sign anything or?
You probably will, or I can just check the box and put your name.
That's fine.
when I
Well,
get
you
to
just
the-
let me know what you
Oh,
need.
definitely. She
Do
gave me
we,
the
if you're gonna be
information.
are you gonna try to go to Monday's meeting?
she's gonna, once I got the okay from this board, I'm gonna
Okay.
let her know and she's gonna send it out to make sure her board's okay with it.
Okay.
So I don't know.
Yeah, well, no, I was gonna say, because we haven't, Dan, you alluded to it at the French Festival meeting, that we were gonna try to get a grant, but I think
Have you heard any more from the
No. I don't-
committee?
the fundraising committee's been meeting and they got stuff going, so.
Are they gonna share it or?
My understanding was they're gonna meet monthly with the chamber board, so I think they might be going to the meeting on the 18th.
Cause the last meeting, they said, if they didn't have everything in between by the end of December,
Yeah,
they're canceling
But
it.
yeah, I know, but yeah, so all I know is that they did have one meeting, they had a really good meeting,
They better
Um,
be canceled if they're doing all this fundraising, because people will be pissed.
yeah.
Well, and that's the other thing about the application. I'm gonna have to put in there that this is a one-time thing because of their additional fees and security, but they're making money to make sure it's long-term. Like, this is not gonna be an annual.
I think what French Festival has to do is they have to become their own 501c3. They really, not for this year, because they wouldn't get it done. We know how lengthy that process is. But if they were their own 501c3, then they could get lots of donations. So, all right, anybody else have anything? Do we need a motion on Mandy being the liaison? Probably we do. Let's have a motion on Mandy being our liaison to the chamber. Can I have the motion?
Almost.
Thank you, Bill. May I have a second? Joe?
Second.
Oh, Jim, thank you. All in favor?
All right.
Aye. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
Yay.
Yeah, almost.
Dan, I got Dan 1, Bill 2, all in favor? Aye. Merry Christmas. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Joe.
Merry Christmas.
Yes, thank you, Joe, very much, very much. We will miss you.
Joe's wife made the sugar cookies and Joe made the chocolate chip.
I made the chocolate chips.
Right now.
Bye, everyone.
Just don't tell them.
Bye-bye.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.